Hi. So today we will speak about the uniqueness of students. Join me for a fascinating discussion about apples and bananas, souffle and salad. Apples and bananas mean every student is different, and souffle and salad, whether education is supposed to be like a salad. When you see the little pieces of education in a salad, always it's like a souffle when everything is melting inside, and this is the process that you're going through. Don't miss it. It's a really great discussion. So, Kaisa, thank you so much for joining me today. As I told you before, my goal is really to learn about your educational philosophy, recommendation for kids and parents and students and elderly. Just a great vision about education. But I always start with a simple question. How did you become an educator?
Well, I became an educator way back when I started. When I got the motivation was actually from my teacher. So when I was in school, and to make matters a little simple, I was pretty intelligent, and I was trying to help some my peers in a chemistry lesson, and a teacher saw it through the window that I was doing, and he's an Englishman, and he came back and said, Kaiser, I think you'll make a good teacher. And I thought, through that, I thought, to me, my teaching in short is my vocation. In meet, I don't think there's a single day of work.
That's true.
So, yeah.
Please go ahead.
So as an educator, I started when I was 22 years old, and I went back to my old school to teach. My principal gave me the opportunity to teach. And so, yeah, 22. So now it's like, 40 years now down the line.
And it's interesting you're telling me this story. When I was in primary school, we had a fascinating English teacher. She was just incredible. And my class was 25 kids. Out of the 25 kids, 12 became English teachers. But that's just to show you what type of impact she had over the children. Now, but as you go through education, there's a very big difference between facing a group of children or adults versus running an educational facility. This is like, it's a completely different thing. So do you still feel like, do you still actually get to teach, really to teach like a class?
No, now I don't teach. It took me, it was heart-wrenching to get out of the class. But then I think I just changed my mindset a bit. Like I was fundamentally a good teacher, and a lot of students always, a lot of children in my own school are my students' children also, because they feel like, oh, sir is there and that kind of a thing. Yes, I think at the heart, I then thought that, okay, Mr. Kaiser can't be everywhere, right? So then I got into say, okay, let's mentor. I think the role should be mentoring. And I think that transition which happened perhaps was like I would see my coordinator do something, and I said, oh my God, this thing too, I can do it in one shot, and the guy is not getting it. Then I had to remind myself, you have to be patient. Everybody is on a different track. It's apples and oranges. So you need to be a visionary. So I feel leadership is a lot about visionary, mentoring, and giving situational leadership. So I'm at that situation where I find somebody is great at, running, taking the ball and running. I think he should be supported and not intervene in this. There's yet other person who perhaps wants support, and so support should be provided. So guys who are good, independent, they run. I just lay out the vision and say, okay, this is what the school is about. So let's put it. So we put all the kids in. To us, my particular school, I think when I looked at it, it was a small school, and how we nurtured it over time. So it was a very it's a very nurturing kind of a school. So for us, we call it as a school with a heart. And therefore, socio-emotional learning became one piece, and personalizing learning became the other piece. So from differentiated plus individualization of learning, add to it an interest becomes personalized learning. So for us, IB made a lot of sense dealing with it. Anyway, I was in this process for many, many years. Yeah, I don't know whether I've answered your question, but I've lost your question.
I do want to get to the bananas and apples in a second and to the vision. But before that, a new teacher just drafted to your school. What would be the advice you give them on their first day?
Yeah, I think the advice is more motivational to begin with, because at the time when they begin, it's more advice on that, because the administrative part and the operational part comes down to the coordinators talking to them more about it. So I'm more into I believe school should be mission led, and everything which we do must emerge from that mission. So that's what I lay out. Like, why are things where they are? Okay, what in essence is the culture and the environment of the school, which is directed towards the purpose. That's the mission. And then the learning.
What is the mission in your school? Like, how do you define the mission of your school?
Well, there's a mission statement which we have of our school, which is there in every classroom, stuck up there. And every time when we do change rules or regulations, we look at the mission. So what is our mission? Well, our mission statement has a couple of things there. One is holistic learning. Okay. Second is that we must teach them to be independent learners yet collaborative. That's the second part. So team, that is independent learners and collaborative. Okay. We are talking, when I said holistic, we meant not just knowledge, skills, but also conceptual understanding and the overall, let's say, mind, body, and soul, that kind of a thing. And finally, we are coming to values and intercultural understanding, so they be better global citizens. So these are the nuts and bolts of the mission statements. Now, how does that pan out into real life? Is we have a learner profile, and which is taken from the IB learner profile. So our mission statement matches with the mission statement of the IB. If it does not, the IB says, well, you know what, philosophically, we are not tuned in, So you have to philosophically tune in, because in the IB, we say, we want to create active, compassionate, lifelong learners who believe that others with their differences could also be right. So we picked out active, yes, is there, but this compassion part of it, I think that's great in this particular time and age, because, with artificial intelligence thrown in, you need, from the academic or from the learning aspect, you definitely need the left and the right side of the brain fed versus just the memory. But because that's not what the AI can do, perhaps right now. Okay. As well as the AI, what can't do the human connect. Right? So to get that part, which means it should be empathy plus action, which translates itself into compassionate learners. So we are big one on that. And so the school is like a family.
It's interesting what you're saying. When I started the Books, when I came with the ID, my vision was to allow children to write and publish books. It started when I was writing a children's book, and I found it to be very complicated, and I decided to make it easy. So, we built a company with this vision that my goal is really to be in the creative writing space, and in the logistical element of this, allowing you to actually, eventually put it out there. But where I was actually very surprised, and it was totally not my plan, we identified that later there's two other elements. One, it's a business school, because when the children eventually have those books in front of them, and they want to make money from they want to profit from their books, they start selling it. And initially it was not, it's something that I started to see on the internet, when actually even my son, he have his own books, and he goes here and he sells them in the street. He makes a lot of money doing it. And and suddenly we saw children selling thousands of books. So was like, whoa, there is something valuable, and I know how to sell it. That's totally not related to creative writing. It's like I have nothing to do with that. But some children found it more fascinating than the creative writing. The creative part writing was the tool. So when you talk about bananas and apples, we have children approaching a book writing from purely from business point of view, and another one just from creative point of view. And then we learn that they need to do some marketing. They need to know how to take a message and spread it out in the world. So kids that want to see themselves as vloggers or bloggers, etc. So for me, I was surprised that a tool that was designed for writing suddenly became, in my opinion, even more a business school in some cases. And this leads me to the question about apples and bananas. Because we know that children are different, right? And some ones like to write, some want to sell, I'm just saying. And the education system classically is, we're supposed to put them in a box and deliver them out after. So, we normally chop their wings. If somebody's very, very, very creative, we chop their wings because, we say you have to do math. And if somebody is very mathematician, you say, you cannot do only math. So how do you deal with that? For me, this is like one of the best challenges in education, especially with AI. How do you take the fact that kids, as you said, they are extremely, extremely, extremely different, and a world of AI requires the differences? Because for the box, I have ChatGPT. I don't need a human for this anymore. I need the creativity. So how do you do that?
Yeah. So firstly, you have to look at your recipe, which is your curriculum. Right. So it can't be like the spices are separate and the chicken is separate. It has to be put in, right? So that's what the IB has done beautifully. And a lot of our kids, we did start Brebook, I think 3 years back. And it's become more like, they've been more, I'll tell you our experience with Brebooks. A lot of them have done it. And we have given them the agency to do it. So they have the choice, voice, and ownership, right? It's not something we said, okay, we are telling you to do it or whatever. They picked it up. And it's become like a movement in the class, which is, I think it's better, it's much better. So I'll just tell you, I have a library which is in the middle, classes are around, and the middle space is like a piazza where they can, meet. So that's where the books are there. The library is so all the books are put out there. So this recognition part of it, this celebration part of it, you don't just recognize it, you celebrate it. It's a creative streak, which they are enjoying. My thing has been like this year, I think they wrote 139 books or amongst themselves. And it was not led by a competitive spirit. It wasn't as if the school pushed it. Actually, I did little or nothing on it by way of pushing it. I saw it, and it's like, the wind, you need to harness it, right? So you just provided them the opportunity and you harness that wind into an energy. So today it's become an energy here. And I would like to thank you, Ami, for actually initiating this process, because I think my children love it, love what they do. And they're discussing their stories with their parents, with their friends. They're having their author study. Like, they read their book out, that kind of a thing. The selling piece is secondary. The reason perhaps is also because they come from affluent societies, maybe because what you have in excess, you don't tend to take that at value. But what they are looking at, okay, my thought and my idea is gaining currency. I think that is the big piece over here for us. So now coming to your point as a curriculum, it's transdisciplinary approach. Okay, put it simply, an interdisciplinary is between two subjects. A multidisciplinary is like a bowl, using a metaphor, like a bowl of salad, whereby you can see the lettuce, the cucumber, the olive, and you can see that. Transdisciplinary approach is like a souffle. You can't see the ingredients, right? So when you're doing it, when you're teaching it in that way, is because the brain is also doing synergetic thinking. It's not doing like, okay, this is history, so this is, I'm only going to take history thoughts and or math thought. No, no, no. It's a real world situation, is transdisciplinary. So we are helped by the curriculum designed in such a way where subjects are not boxed. They are teaching themes. Let us say, let's say they, when you did your brief books, when that was going on, they were doing how we express ourselves as a theme, how we express ourselves. Now you can express it by way of writing, by way of art, music, dance. You could do it in many, many ways. But that also brings in math, that also brings in science, that also brings in business, you see. So that synergetic mind is required, right? The left and the right side of the brain working, and to see that real world situation is not disciplinary, it is transdisciplinary. And leaders need to have that transdisciplinary mindset to solve a real world situation. You can't say like, you know what, I am a economist and that's all I know and that's all. Very boring person also if somebody is only an economist both at home and at work. You do need that. That's what is education. It's not about making children just literate. It's is educating them. Now through your brief books, it comes ideas of not just creativity, how values come into play, right? Expression is depicting what? It's depicting your personality, right? So you do need to have a safe place to do it. So environment must be safe.
Yeah,
And
you're so right. And another thing that we saw clearly, especially post COVID, is that it was also writing was a very great outlet for mental health. The fact that it's a safe place when you actually just put your words on a paper allowed. I know it because a lot of parents and children approached me and told me their journey, which again I was never planning it. It was like a big surprise for me. But I want to take you to another angle, and this is something that I'm dealing with as a parent as well. Uh, you know, we clearly understand the vision. That it's like creative and interdiscipline and all that, etc. But we have the problem with the parents, and when I say the parents, I don't mean other people. I also mean myself. We look at the education of our children and say, definitely, we want to have the most balanced, diverse education, but they need to go to college and they need to have the right GPA and they need to go to Harvard and they need to, so I see that a lot of parents, me included, with all the belief that the balanced education, the soufflé that you're talking about is healthy, at the same time, they will say to your kids that, you need to get like an A+ in math and you need to, so there is an element sometimes that I feel, I don't want to say helicopter parents. I think this is a little bit too extreme and we know them. So I'm not talking about them. I'm actually talking about the parents that are less extreme than the helicopter parents, but still, because of the way we were educated many years ago, we have it. So I wonder, what advices do you give to parents when they come to you and you see them like over pushing or under pushing their kids in school?
all right. When it comes to those reaching the high school, for example, all right. I'm on a Zoom meeting. Yeah. Um, when it comes to high school, for example, all right, that's where the pressure of colleges and all that comes in. But what do the colleges want? They want a holistic development anyway. Whether you're writing the essays or you're going to give all your, it's not just about the school transcript, which is documenting all that, right? So, in a way, we are blessed because we follow the IB pattern that helps us. I believe even the American system where you have your own diploma, which I was in one of the American school as a vice principal and acting principal, I felt that was also give you a leeway to look at your school context, right? And build in all this. Because actually, colleges love the idea that if somebody's like Einstein, his first love was music, though he was a physicist or mathematician or whatever you want to call him. But they are not like contradictory. That's what I'm trying to say. So this transfer of learning is this. So for us, uh, fortunately, the curriculum is helpful. The mind, to bring him in line with that, is not such a challenge. But yes, if your curriculum was an Indian curriculum, which was all to do with taxing your memory, right? Putting 10 GB information in 1 GB memory stick, yes, that problem will arise. They will say, like, sorry, he can't play cricket, he can't do this, he can't do that, and blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's the case with the national curriculum. However, if somebody is seeking to go, and so then all this becomes like hobbies. But to me, a BRI book is not a hobby. It's something a child is pursuing, and that skill is transferable. You see, that is
Yeah.
important because it
I
becomes.
totally agree with you. Because the process of writing a book is a process that you start from your brain, something physical, something tangible, something valuable, and I always say to people, like, I'm a serial entrepreneur. In order to start a startup, you need to be able first to tell the story of your startup. If you cannot tell the story, right? If you're an educator, you're a principal, you need to be able to tell the story of your school. So the storytelling is a tangible storytelling, and completing a very complicated project of actually writing a book. It's transferable, and it's an essential skill for life. That's like very easy for me to see. I do want to ask you one last question.
Sure.
And this question is actually, like I said, what advices do you give to parents? What advices do you give to your teachers? What advice would you give children as they, young children, as they start their journey? They can be 6 or 8 or 9 or 10, and they're starting this journey that sometimes is scary, sometimes is full of pleasure. It really depends who you are. What advice or 2 advices would you give them as they start, or as they face challenges in their education?
Yeah, I think 2, 3 things. One, of course, is to do with learning the idea of my space, your space, and our space, right? Because that's what requires social skills in a community, right? So I think that, so as a community, when you do, how do you manage this? My space, your space, our space. That's one part. Second is how to teach them, while in the process, teach them things like uh, how your self-management, their time management skills, organizational skills. These are core competency which go into building up the thing, but primarily ensuring them that there is a safe, nurturing, conducive environment in the school. Please take advantage of that and explore all your facets of your personality, because you're unique, and that uniqueness must be explored, all your dimensions. I think
Well,
they're happy.
I think this is literally the best way to end our conversation. Explore your uniqueness. I think this is probably the best advice one can give to a student.
And I always believe that that appreciation, not flattery, but appreciation. When you have, you say thank you for, you appreciate day by day, moment by moment. You thank people for what little you've done. That changes the attitude. So it's about an attitudinal change of how you look at things. And if your belief patterns are changed, your feelings changes, and then your action changes. So what you put in the belief patterns, that is core to what you feel, because otherwise feelings don't change. I mean, yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Thank you for being such a champion on BRI books with all your students. I really appreciate it.
No, we
And I
love
hope
it.
yeah,
We love it.
yeah. Thank you very, very much.
Welcome.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye bye.